Welcome back to the WARPATH. This time we are still focused on W for work ethic. And as you recall, last time we talked about that can lead to the opposite problem, which is being a workaholic and worry and all that kind of stuff. And the countermeasure to those things, of course, is wisdom. So I'm going to give you some wisdom today. And we touched on this in the last video a little bit. Time management, we all have this drummed into us from an early age, go to work early and stay late. That's how you're going to get ahead. And I mentioned in the WARPATH, and I mentioned it last video, I believe that's a myth. And it's a great myth for employers to be able to get some extra free time out of their employees. I spent decades going to work early. Whether you're on the clock or off the clock, you end up putting that extra time in. Even if you're not clocked in and a phone call comes or someone needs help, you end up helping, you end up staying late. I want you to go to work and work hard and give everything you have to your employer for the time that he's paying you. But the time he's not paying you does not belong to him or her. It doesn't belong to the company. Your time belongs to you. And I want you to understand that. It's a myth of time management to go to work early and stay late. If you're going to, and again, I'll back up. My dad always told me if you're 10 minutes early, you're late. Or if you're on time, you're late. You should always be 10 minutes early. And that's true. You should always leave early, preparing if you get a flat tire, if something happens. But it doesn't mean when you get to work you have to jump out and get to work for someone else. And I'm going to talk about maximum utilization of resources. That's using your time. And I'll give you a little example that I was thinking. The last job I had, my commute time was a half an hour there and a half an hour home. That's an hour every day. So if you think about this, 5 hours a week, okay, is lost just in a short commute. 5 hours times 50 weeks, 250 hours. 250 hours of time. What can you do with that? How many college credits could you take in that amount of time? How many books could you read in that amount of time? So if you look at 250 hours and you look at an 8-hour day, I mean, you're looking at just, well, in me, 250 hours a year and 8 years came out to 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours divided by an 8-hour workday is 250 days. So that's almost a year's worth of time. How do you get that redeemed? Who is that going to go to? You can pay yourself that time, or you can give it to somebody else while they build their dynasty on your work hours. So I'm encouraging you to use your time to its maximum advantage. And if you are commuting, and this is the first place to gain that time, to master that time, if you're commuting, start listening to books on tape. That can be your master's program. That can be your bachelor's degree. That can be a PhD for some of you, if that's what it takes. And just, broadening your world awareness and topic awareness will never go wrong. So utilize that time by getting on podcasts or whatever. And if you get to work 10 minutes early, you're there. It's 1 minute to walk in from the parking lot. So sit in your car for 9 minutes and finish the podcast. Read another chapter of the book. Use your time to your advantage. Once you clock in, you belong to the boss. Give him everything you've got until the time you clock out. Once you're clocked out, get in your car, find a podcast, find a book. And that's the other thing on WARPATH. The R, we're going to get into that later on, is read. You need to be a constant reader. And a lot of people don't like to read because they feel like it's a waste of time. To just sit down and read, they think of this as a leisurely activity. I want you to think of reading in a whole new way. I want you to think of reading as work. Reading is work. That way you can justify it to yourself. You're not just sitting around with your feet up reading a book, relaxing. No, you are strengthening your mind. You are putting information in that you're going to be able to recall and use in the future. So reading is work. Value it as such. And find all those extra times. If you're not commuting and you're 5 minutes from work, knock off one of your favorite TV shows. If you're going to watch March Madness basketball, start watching your favorite teams at halftime. That's going to give you 45 minutes, an hour. I can find you 2,000 hours over the course of 5 years. Maximize your time. That's all I've got today. See you at the top.